All right, welcome in. It's another college football weekend here in the upstate of South Carolina. Mark Sturgis, Will Vandervort, live at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson. We're going to get you ready for that 7 p.m. battle tomorrow night. Florida State at Clemson, 7 p.m. on the ACC network. And when we looked at this game back in July at ACC football kickoff, Will, did you ever think this game would be on the ACC network and not ABC or ESPN? Because YouTube TV subscribers wouldn't be able to see it anyway.
Yes. I mean, what a crazy scenario for Clemson. You know, your preseason pick to win the conference, your top 4 preseason in the country. You're thinking this game might be for the ACC championship, as it has been every year but one since 2009. And, you know, now it's like, who cares? And then it's on the network. Nobody watches. And then YouTube TV says, you know, we don't want ESPN anyway.
It's a battle for bowl eligibility. I'm telling you, if Mike Hogwood, God bless and rest his soul, ever needed to be on the sideline tomorrow to pump up a Clemson-Florida State matchup like he could for JP back in the day.
It's ACC flying high action. We got the Clemson Tigers against the Florida State Seminoles.
So, all right. Again, Will Vandervort, you can follow him on
Sports,
Twitter at Steeler Will.
Swift. Did I get married to Taylor Swift and not know it?
Also, the Clemson Insider, the Believe in Clemson podcast. And again, follow the Clemson Insider at TCI or at the Clemson Insider. Will, I hate to sit here and talk about it, but you can't go forward until you look back. 46-45 home loss this past weekend to Duke. You took Duke. I said I thought Clemson finds a way to scrap out this game. And lo and behold, it looked like I was going to be right. I mean, you had seen a gluttony of errors between pass protection breakdowns, giving up a 102-yard kickoff return after you finally fight back and take the lead. Dude, I could have run that one back, okay?
Well, I think I would have got to the 25-yard line.
Yeah, of
course.
But
I wouldn't have ran it all the way back.
Now, our buddy Cliff over here would be sitting at the 25-yard line with the oxygen tank going, come on, man, come on, let's bring it on in. My point being,
I just tried to run to the bathroom
Clemson
earlier.
did everything that they needed to come back and take defeat from or victory from the jaws of defeat. And I hate to put it on one play, but the one thing that Dabo went off this week when he goes off, I totally agreed with. There has to be more accountability because every time this thing happens, it seems like it's ACC officiating, and it's not always Clemson. I go back earlier this year. Georgia Tech jumps off sides on 4th down.
Against Wake
Forest. They get the call wrong. That cost Wake Forest that game.
They didn't call anything.
Yeah, that was a game-deciding decision, right? Yeah. Well, guess what? So was 4th and 11. If you want me to go honestly and I decide I want to be fair with you 100% across the board, maybe I could have lived with defensive holding and offensive pass interference and play the down over again.
Absolutely.
But nobody bothered to really go back and look that Mensah was falling off his back foot, throwing to a spot, and to his credit, he made the officials make a decision, and it went with Duke, and it was wrong. Dabo's now been fined by the Atlantic Coast Conference and reprimanded. Well, I would love to know from our friends Wes Durham, and then I'm not friends with Steve Adazio, but you cannot tell me that they did not get a call this week from the ACC headquarters because they were all over that call as offensive pass interference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the call that they called was offensive pass interference. So there's several things that happened wrong on that play. So you mentioned part of them. Okay, so it started off at the top of the route where obviously if you watch the film, Avion is holding. He's holding. There's no doubt. However, that's not what they called. He kept the flag in his pocket at that point. So then when the ball is coming up, when they're coming over and the ball's in the air, clear as day the offensive player is pushing off and trying to get, not allowing Avion to have access to the football, which he's every bit is allowed to because he's looking at the ball too. So there's the second mistake. The third mistake comes when they huddle up to get the call right, where they could have done exactly what you said, called both fouls, and just went ahead and played the down over again, or at least made the right call, or, and this is what nobody talks about, they spotted the ball wrong. If the ball was not the play did not happen in the end zone. It happened outside the end zone, which means it's half the distance to the goal because it was at the 18-yard line. The ball should have been spotted at the 9.
Well,
I asked the Atlantic Coast Conference for a comment on all of those things.
And they won't.
And I have not gotten I've gotten crickets. I got ignored.
Here's the deal. I maybe in a little bit bigger Clemson fandom after being here the last 24 hours and going through some things with my parents that they left to the university, I am going to say it. You can pull my credential from ACC football kickoff next year. I don't really care. I got the feeling the ACC has told their officials, if you can stick it to Clemson and Florida State this year based off the lawsuit, do it. And they've had the opportunity to do it to both teams. And to me, that's a loyalty thing. And Clemson and Florida State tomorrow, I can't wait to see
who they going to throw it on this game?
No, my question is, what's the over-under on Flagstone tomorrow? 25? That would be a terrible game.
Please don't say that. Please don't say that.
But you know it's coming. I'm
not going to the game's not going to get over till midnight if that happens. That means I'm working till 6 a.m.
But, you know, what's the only way that the ACC can get back at Clemson and Florida State? Stick it to them on a couple of calls.
They already stick
that's
it
my
to them?
That's my decision to make that comment, not yours.
Didn't they already stick it to them, though, by putting them on the ACC network?
I get it. I'm just saying this whole thing is drug out all year.
By the way, real quick trivia question for you. When was the last time Clemson was 1-4 at home?
I got to think 76.
Close.
75.
1975. The Tigers finished 1-4 at home that year.
I know.
So, do you know what that means, Sturge?
We're looking at history tomorrow.
If Clemson loses tomorrow, they will have the first time ever a Clemson team lost 5 games.
Now, I know some of the people in the media have taken across the chops this week. Put out the positive. Put out the positive. Don't put out the negative. Well, here's the negative. Clemson is not playing complimentary football. If you remember back last week, we had an adjective that we were scrambling for live on the air, and I think it was complimentary is what we were looking for.
I'm glad you wrote it down.
Right. That's why I kind of, that's what we were looking for. Well, listen, let's be honest with you. The defense has cost Clemson 2 games in a row, all right? Mm-hmm. Could not get off the field in the second half of the SMU game, more or less. Played pretty well on third down this past Saturday against Duke. Only problem was you sucked out loud on fourth down, all right?
Yep.
The opening series that Duke scored, or Duke's first scoring, they were 0 for 2 on third down, but 2 for 2 on fourth down. And that's what Clemson has to do tomorrow. Clemson has to figure a way to get back to playing complimentary football. But I've got to ask you this question. We'll talk about it more during the fourth quarter. Can they, with the size disadvantage they will face at one position tomorrow? So we will see. Deuce Robinson. I haven't flipped my page. Deuce Robinson at 6'6", 225 pounds. That's going to be a matchup nightmare for this secondary the entire night tomorrow night.
Well, it depends on what Florida State does. And I think Clemson's going to be okay there, and here's why.
All right.
Ashton Hampton has played 2 good games in a row. He's really played well. He's the one guy in the secondary that's played consistent the last few weeks. And he's your tallest and most physical defensive back. He stands at 6'2". He can jump out of a building. You put him on top of him, he gives 4 inches, but he's strong. I think he can hang with them, and I think that's your answer to Mr. Robinson.
All right, at least put him back behind in case there's a bust. Somebody's within 30 yards of running that. Have you
now,
seen
that's a whole different story.
Just saying. Have you ever seen maybe the big bust that we saw this past weekend to the Duke tight end out on the right side that takes it 75 yards for a touchdown? Well, I don't even think we needed the oxygen tanks to get that one in the end zone on that particular play.
No, that again, Dabo talked about the other night. That's Tampa 2. The linebacker is supposed to drop. I don't know what they're doing on that play. They just allow the tight end to run right off the line, not even touched. Runs right off the line, right down the seam. He's wide open. I'm like, what are you doing? It's Tampa 2. What are we doing there? And neither linebacker played a Tampa 2. I don't know what they were playing. It's just one coverage bust after another. The one that really stands out to me is you learn this in middle school football. When you have a corner blitz, the safety takes the wide receiver that's not being covered. That's just standard football.
There's a little NASCAR to that.
Yeah, so the Avion Terrell's running a corner blitz, and I don't know what Ricardo Jones was doing, but he, for some reason, was playing the run, and he sucks up on the play action. I'm like, dude, you got to get that outside receiver. What are you doing? And, of course, he just runs right past him, wide open, probably the easiest touchdown pass our boy from Duke had all his entire career.
You cannot give up an easy 43-yard touchdown pass with 16 seconds left on the clock in the first half.
That too, yeah.
And,
you want to keep naming them? We got a whole bunch of them.
No, my NASCAR reference was they always say if you see a wreck on the track, aim right for it because it's not going to be there by the time that you got there. Well, that's kind of been the Clemson defensive backs here. They're
aiming for the wreck.
They haven't been there. So, listen, before we get out to our first break, and, of course, we'll talk about ACC and national games in the second segment and really dive into Florida State Clemson here in the third. Let me ask you, as somebody that's around the program, you were there on Tuesday for interviews and everything. What do you think may have happened that we didn't see back in July to this football team? Because I have asked myself that question multiple times, and quite frankly, I don't have the answer for it.
There are answers. It's just answers I can't give right now.
Okay.
But there are answers of what's happened and why we didn't see that back then. I don't even think Coach Sweeney saw the things that have come uncovered as the course of this season has gone on. So there's a lot of things we'll be able to explain later on. Okay. But right now, it's
just that's a question even my brothers brought to the table. Mark, you came back from ACC football kickoff thinking, I said, yeah, man, I bought into it pretty much like everybody else did because Clemson was the runaway choice to win the Atlantic Coast Conference, and it just hasn't happened. So, again, you were there on Tuesday. Can we get an update when it comes to injuries for tomorrow, how the Tigers are looking? Because, we're at that point of the season, 8 games in. Both teams are coming in a little bit beat up at this point.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think everybody is. But all things considered, I think Clemson's in pretty good shape from the injury standpoint. Vic Burley and defensive tackle and then offensive lineman Colin Sadler have both been upgraded to probable for the game tomorrow. So they're likely going to play. In case you're wondering about Cade Klubnik, he seems fine. Wasn't even mentioned on the injury report. He kind of was gimpy a little bit last week, but he played his butt off. Had a career high 385 yards passing. So I think you're fine there. And the other key positions, with the exception of Bryant Wesco being out, you're in pretty decent shape.
Listen, there were good things that took place in that game last week. The bad thing was the things that stunk really, really stunk, and it's hard for any kind of football team to overcome that amount of big mistakes. But, the ACC, who knows now as we come back and we talk about it, Virginia, it's so odd for me to sit there when I was looking at the standings earlier today and realize Virginia lost to NC State. Their one loss earlier this season, and it's not an ACC game. It does not count as an ACC game. So all of a sudden you got NC State blowing out Georgia Tech. Didn't just beat them up pretty good this past week. It is wide open in the ACC and what we'll see. And you just think back, that last 15, 20 seconds at Georgia Tech or this or that, it's that close. Clemson could still be in the conversation. But it all starts tomorrow, Will. This team has to make a bowl game. I will put this down as one of the biggest failures of all time that I have witnessed up close. If a team that I believed in that much back in July doesn't even make a postseason game in December, that would go down as one of my all-time biggest failures I've witnessed in my life.
Do they have to make a bowl game, though? Can't we just let it be over? I mean, I'd be fine with it.
I'll take 15 extra practices with all 52 players that show up, whatever. But, yes.
52 players. That's right, 52 players that'll show up out of 85.
It's the epitome of what it is. But I think this program, if they look back and can't even see themselves in the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa in December, I mean, you can't.
Or the Pinstripe Bowl.
Thank you.
Or the Fenway Bowl.
You know what? I'll go do that this year. It's been a bad year. You want to end it up in Yankee Stadium? Shoot, I might go up there for that. Be a little cold and everything.
I think I'll stay home, but you can.
But I mean, at least
I hate New York.
Something in that. I'm with
now, see, Fenway Park, I might want to go more for that because I like Boston.
Do you like spicy food?
I do.
Well, guess what? That thing's sponsored by Wasabi. Why don't we'll make our own? We'll make our own show up there. The spicy with straight up sturgeon. Will. All right. When we come back, we'll talk about the ACC. But of course, we're here at Lakeside Lodge as we are for every home game. Absolutely unbelievable location here. A lot of the people that are being honored for Hall of Fame weekend this weekend are staying right here at Lakeside Lodge. Dave Landio will be performing from Charleston. 2 weeks, we wrap it up before the Furman game with LC Branch from Seneca. But the main thing is you cannot beat this place. If you own a condo here and you're not using it, you can put it into their rental program just like a hotel room. Actually make money back from your investments. You can find out everything you need to know online at lakesidelodgeclemson.com. I also want to highly recommend, if you're wondering what to do for Thanksgiving Day, for $32, 6 meat stations here. Forget about the double-digit number of sides. That's called meat. You had
6
different meat stations, everything. $32 per person. They are accepting reservations. Yeah, Cliff's already signed up. They are taking reservations. You can give the hotel a call. It will be between 11:30 and 2:30. And then, of course, real quickly, the Clemson Insider, your senior writer. You're also, they can follow you on Twitter at SteelerWill. They can also go back and look at your book.
What else do we want to go through?
4 or 5 years ago, The Hidden History of Clemson Football.
This is a good time to do it.
This would be a good time to maybe
good
sit
Christmas
down.
gift.
Exactly.
Go get it for your favorite Clemson fan.
So, again, my favorite thing about the Clemson Insider, again, you and JP, Jason Priester, our friend, y'all cover everything, but the most important thing for me, it's free.
Yeah.
Right? And it's free and it's honest.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate that. We work hard.
You can only put so much lipstick on a pig, and at that point, it becomes obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I like the honesty of it. And, again, theclemsoninsider.com. Check them out. When we come back, let's take a look through the ACC, the few national games. I'm really disappointed for this weekend in November that we don't have great games all over the schedule. It's really not. It's one in the Big 12 and maybe one in the SEC that catches my attention.
No.
But we'll talk about those when we come back. And maybe go ahead and start looking who's going to be in Charlotte for the ACC championship game. We know it's not going to be Clemson.
Or Florida
but
State.
you know what? There's like 6 or 7 different teams that are still in contention. Again, Straight Up with Sturge, we're live at Lakeside Lodge.
To the innovators, the disruptors, the game changers, the ones who brave the frontiers of knowledge with relentless curiosity. There is a place where you belong, a place that gives you an advantage. Furman is your launchpad, your proving ground, your home. Here you're not just learning, you're evolving, igniting, propelling from who you are to who you're destined to be.
It's more than football.
Let's all come together to be a bridge builder through this great game to change the lives of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Together, we can be a voice to help educate, encourage, and empower excellence in our youth and community.
Join the movement and help support all that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is doing to embrace this mission of celebrating, recognizing, and encouraging excellence.
I'm here at one of my favorite places in Greenville. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road here in the Commons at Pelham. And listen, there's a lot going on at Tip It Back here during the week. First of all, there's happy hour, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. There's great food. They're open at noon for lunch. But Mondays, you can enjoy live trivia at 7 p.m., then Monday Night Football. On Thursdays, it's football and then karaoke. On Friday night, some of the best live entertainment in the upstate. And then Saturday, it's football all day and finishes off with karaoke. And then Sunday, it's NFL football. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is your spot. It's the home for the Steelers. They're on the broadcast here in the bar all day long. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill. Check them out. It'll be your home for college football.
All right, welcome back in. We're live at Lakeside Lodge. Will Vandervort of the Clemson Insider. Follow him on Twitter at SteelerWill. Mark Sturgis, straightupsports.net is the website. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Sturgis Sports. So, Will, a couple of updates that we can give. Clemson basketball is playing against Gardner-Webb. It is it's a baseball game right now, but it's early.
Yeah, 2-1 Tigers. Got a 2-run homer there from somebody. That's always good. We get to get a 2-run homer. We're talking basketball.
Yeah.
And,
dude, you notice how bad we want to flip to a team that won by more than 10 points for Clemson this past week with their opener against New Hampshire. But even more than that, before we get into these games, I really enjoyed what Coach Poppy did with the 11 a.m. tip-off and having all the kids bust in for elementary school day and whatnot. I mean, that's a big event for the kids themselves, not to mention – women's basketball, there's 8,000 people there for their home opener at 11
yeah, that's
a.m.
good. That's good.
Dude, you got to build those fans some way. Now, let's get into noon tomorrow. This is the first week the ACC hadn't had a midweek game all year or a Friday night game. They all start tomorrow at noon. You think Clemson fans are asking what has happened? I'd say the same thing about Boston College. They were tough last year, but SMU 6-3. They're at BC 1-8 tomorrow, and that looks like a Boston College team that maybe gave their last shot a little bit to Notre Dame. Now they're just ready to get out of the season.
Yeah, I think they're done, and I think SMU goes up there and gets a win and keeps itself in the conversation for the ACC championship. They would improve to 5-1 in the conference, and they'd be one of those teams that are sitting there that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a moment. Now, 3:30 p.m., how much would this hurt Clemson? Duke 5-3 at UConn 6-3, out of conference game. A lot of people give credit where credit's due. Jim Moore has taken over that program at UConn that's not – they're an independent in the East. Big East doesn't offer football. He's actually done a very good job there in a really strange situation. I kind of wonder why his name hadn't maybe been mentioned a little bit more in this coaching carousel. But that, to me, if I put an adjective on the game, that's the game that just might chap a few Clemson fans' butts if UConn wins.
Might chap a few ACC members' butts, too. I think Duke, that's a big game because Duke is one of your teams that's leading in your conference, and you want Duke to go get a win and look good doing it so your conference doesn't look – because the ACC right now – doesn't have a very good look nationally, and you would not look good at all.
A lot of people are calling this a one-bid league when it comes to the 12-team playoff because you got Syracuse 3-6, and you're seeing Fran Brown's name come up as a top 3 candidate potentially at Auburn. They're at Miami 6-2. Miami, they can make the ACC championship game because there's 6 teams with 1 loss, but Carson Beck, I think, started to show his true colors here. He's blaming everybody but himself for his inefficiencies at quarterback, and I'm telling you right now, it won't be tomorrow with Syracuse, but Miami has 1 more loss in them before the end of the regular season, and one of my friends that you have met, his last text, he's a Miami fan, does some work, was Carson Beck last weekend. So, but again, that shows you, at 3-6, he had 1 really good year last year. But I saw on a list of 5 people I trust on the Auburn job, Brown's like number 3 on there.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I can see somebody's going to give a chance to him because when he's got the tools, he's shown what he can do winning 10 games last year at Syracuse. Miami, by the way, that's a very they'll win this game, but I think the game you're talking about they may lose, it's going to be at Acrisure Stadium at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. 4:30, the honor in the ACC, even though they got a win this past week, is Stanford 3-6 at North Carolina 3-5, and that's all I got to say about that.
Called the Nerd Bowl.
Yeah. All right, 7 p.m. Don't look now. The only undefeated team in ACC play is Virginia, and they're 8-1. They're ranked number 14 in the country. As we mentioned earlier, their 1 loss is to NC State in an out-of-conference game.
So ACC.
Dude, that is so ACC 2025.
It's so ACC ever, period.
Yeah.
It's
and here's the deal. I think Wake Forest kind of found out last week. You put Wake Forest 7 points behind, 10 points behind, and make that team throw the ball, they're going to have problems the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And that's what Florida State did last week, and we'll talk about more of that in the final segment. Final game in the ACC is Cal 5-4 at number 15 Louisville 7-1. I got Louisville all day and then some, and then that sets up a very, very big game next Friday night.
For Louisville.
Yeah.
Yes, as Clemson goes into Louisville there. By the way, very close to where the plane crash happened the other day. The airport is right by the football stadium. So very interesting how that's going to be tomorrow night when they play this game tomorrow night.
All right, nationally, again, weak schedule, but to me, the best game nationally tomorrow is the noon kickoff between number 7 BYU and number 8 Texas Tech. Now, I'm 2 weeks removed from saying Texas Tech had the best team money could buy this year. And then guess what? They found a loss to Arizona State, I believe it was.
Yep, on the road.
So that's a noon kickoff tomorrow, and quite frankly, that almost feels a little bit like an elimination game in the fact that we were talking about a couple of those SEC games last week, like Tennessee, Oklahoma.
I don't know. BYU's undefeated. Texas Tech has got one loss. I think if Texas Tech wins, BYU's still in the conversation, and I think they could probably get in that large bid, especially since the ACC is only going to be a one-bid league, one-team bid this year.
Well, I'm going to throw some chaos into the world tomorrow because
Let's do it.
right now Lane Kiffin is expected to be named the next head coach at LSU, Auburn, Florida, Penn State, any other job coming up. And
Virginia Tech.
No, I think they're settled on Franklin. I have not
think Franklin's going to be it? Okay.
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
All right. So, number 3, Texas A&M, 8-0 at number 22, Missouri, 6-2. This is Eli Drinkwitz's payoff game. Eli Drinkwitz beats Texas A&M at home tomorrow at 3:30. He will be the next head coach at Penn State University. Mark my words.
Missouri, if they had one of their two
had a
quarterbacks,
quarterback.
I would say yes to you on that. But Texas A&M is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. That I don't know if there's anybody in the SEC that can beat them, and I think they're going undefeated. And so I'm taking A&M by a couple touchdowns in this one because Missouri don't have a quarterback, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, but I just think that if Missouri finds a way to win this game, Eli's going to be able to write his check.
Oh, I agree
If
on that.
he wants to leave, because they're going through a lot of facility building there at Mizzou. Now, 7:30, I wrote this one down. Why? Because, I'm a Bama grad. But LSU,
well, it's a rivalry.
Well, it is. LSU 5-3 at number 4, Bama 7-1. Over the history of this series, Alabama has been a lot more successful in Baton Rouge, and LSU's been a lot more successful in Tuscaloosa. Go back to the overtime 9-6 game, which caused a 14 playoff after that.
If there could be an upset in college football, this is the one.
Listen, LSU's got players.
They do.
All right?
They got players. They got a good quarterback.
Same thing I say about Clemson. If you got any pride, you show up, you play hard tomorrow, and that's what I think LSU's going to do. Also, Bama's just a quarterback away from probably being 4-3.
I agree.
So Bama gets by this one. I think it's a payback game with Oklahoma coming in after what went down. This is a big football game tomorrow night in the Southeastern Conference.
It's going to be a physical game, too, because of the
absolutely.
rivalry.
Did you hear the story? I love sharing this kind of stuff on our show. Nick Saban shared the story about taking the LSU job back in the day. He was head coach at Michigan State. He said, they were just starting all this flight tracker stuff, and he goes, I would have gotten killed for interviewing for the LSU job. So he sent Miss Terry for 2 days. They showed her around. She called him the first night and said, listen, they have billboards of all the head coaches they want at LSU as their new football coach, and you're not on one of them. Said LSU did not have a football-only building, did not have an academic building for athletes. They had, much like Clemson back in the day, would have to get on the old trolley to go from the locker room in the stadium over to the practice fields.
Right.
And she said all that was a negative, and then she walked in the locker room and goes, Sweetie, they got some awesome-looking football players, and he had the job like 48 hours later. So watch out, LSU. This is a big rivalry game. People don't realize it. Yeah. Final game, 3:30 tomorrow that I'm interested in. Number 9 Oregon at number 20 Iowa, 6-2, because Oregon was one of those top 4 teams, top 5 teams that we heard about. They really can't take a loss here. Iowa, you never know what's going to happen. They might not score more than 21 points, but you aren't likely to score more than that either. So I think that's a fascinating football game. And I always come down to when I'm worried about, is there a parameter that leads one way or the other for Iowa? If they're at home and get to do the thing at the end of the third quarter to the Children's Hospital, that melts my heart every single time. Yeah. So go Hawkeyes tomorrow.
They also wear black and gold, and their uniforms are based off the Pittsburgh Steelers. True story. So anyway,
matter of fact, if we're going to bust on Iowa, for the longest time I had the hardest time differing between Hayden Fox and Hayden Fry.
I did the same thing. By the way, quick story though. So Clemson won the national championship in 1981. So the 1982 Orange Bowl, Iowa played Washington, I believe, in the Rose Bowl before the game. So as we're getting ready to sit down and watch the game, I asked my mom, I said, "Why are the Steelers playing? I thought they don't play today." And Mom's like, "That's not Pittsburgh, honey. That's Iowa." I'm like, "Well, why'd they steal our colors?"
Wow. It all comes down to Pittsburgh or short jokes. Okay. Real quickly, go check out our website, straightupsports.net. We've got 2 extraordinary columnists writing for us, and Bob Gillespie, formerly of the state newspaper, the Orangeburg Times-Democrat, not to mention our buddy Scott Kiefer from the Greenville News. I'm contributing some things. Cliff has actually threatened to write a basketball article for the website coming up.
We can't let that happen.
Here, real quickly, the season began this week. Cliff Witherspoon's top 25. Duke, North Carolina, Duke, North Carolina, Duke.
That's why I said we can't let this happen.
But anyway, we're going to, just because football season might be ending, we're not going anywhere. We got basketball coming up. Matter of fact, McCain Childress will be down there covering the Charleston Classic, in which Clemson is playing.
That's awesome.
So we got a lot of different things going on at the website. Keep checking us out. New links. We will add just a basketball-only page for Cliff with links and articles and everything else. So that's straightupsports.net. Also, real quickly, Will, we can't get out without mentioning a sponsor of both of ours. That's Smoke on the Water. We were hoping for Black Friday to be open. It's going to take a couple of weeks more. You have to apparently put up something in the window if you're serving liquor where people can come by and make an argument of why they don't want that place open. Now, that would have been really, really cool 6 months ago, but we're not wanting that right now. Smoke on the Water will be open in December right there at 33 Beacon Drive off Pelham Road. That's where all those cool restaurants are located, like California Dreamin' and all through there. And, of course, same great food, couple of new things. But, man, the new restaurant looks absolutely fantastic, man.
I can't wait to go.
You
have to do a show down there.
We're going to be down there. We'll be representing. I hate to be honest about some things. I was really ticked off at the way things went down with having to move locations. Sometimes when something bad happens, something good happens out of it.
Absolutely.
And I think Mike's going to be able to serve a lot more people with a bigger smile on his face in this new location than he was ever.
And feed Will more than he ever has before.
Yes. What's your go-to?
My go-to is the beer chicken.
Okay,
that's
one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I just can't. The only place where I can get smoking jackets, where they take a potato skin and they stuff it with your choice of the beer butt chicken, the smoked brisket, or the pulled pork, and put cheese and stuff on top of it and put it in. Man, it is absolutely.
What are you doing to me? We haven't eaten yet.
Yeah, well, maybe some of us have. All right, when we come back, Florida State and Clemson tomorrow. Will's got all the numbers. I was really surprised to peek over to my right and see the all-time series record to a teacher's college. We'll tell you about more than that when we come back. Straight Up with Sturge, live at Lakeside Lodge.
Guys, we've got you covered this football season at straightupsports.net. We have the best retired writers assembled on one staff in the state of South Carolina, like Bob Gillespie, formerly of the state newspaper, Scott Kiefer from the Greenville News, me from ESPN Upstate. We even have a student reporter, McCain Childress, down on the coast, doing some Citadel and coastal things for us. But we'll change out the links and articles every week with some of the best stories. That's the key. The best stories you're going to see. Check us out, straightupsports.net.
My name is Shania Gullidge, and I work here at Traditions on the Lake. One of the things that I definitely think makes this place so special is the warm and welcoming environment. There is nothing on the menu that I do not like, and I'm typically a super picky eater, but there is literally not one thing that I wouldn't recommend. I think Traditions is definitely a perfect spot for a family. It is the perfect environment to bring your kids, very warm and inviting. It's just a very beautiful environment all around.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment of the night, Straight Up with Sturge. My buddy Will Vandervort from the Clemson Insider. Give him a follow on Twitter, at Steeler Will. As a matter of fact, Will, I saw you from a distance tonight. I wasn't surprised to see black and yellow. I thought it was Pittsburgh Steelers, but you're supporting your alma mater right now. Anderson football is having a nice run this year.
Yeah, sitting there, 5 wins under Bobby Lamb's second season at Anderson, their second season as a program. And, last week they almost took out Newberry, who leads the South Atlantic Conference. Lost 24-21, tough loss, but they played well. And I tell you what, man, they got an outstanding facility over there. They're putting a lot of money into the program. I think it's just a matter of time before they get to where they're competing for that league title.
Not only that, I think it's a matter of time before you might see Anderson in the Southern Conference with Furman and Wofford and that kind of thing, and that would be a huge. That would, to me, would be maybe the most likely.
I would be excited for that.
Hey, listen, have you been to Sanford's football stadium, named after named after Bowden?
Yeah, I've been there.
Dude, I've been to nicer high school stadiums in Greenville County. So Anderson and what they built, to me, is just the first part of it.
And they got plenty of room they can add on.
Right.
It's going to be real.
It's going to be
nice.
very, very nice. So when we look at this Florida State at Clemson game, the Seminoles come in at 4-4, Tigers at 3-5. It's a 7 p.m. kickoff on the ACC network tomorrow night. Make alternate plans if you're a YouTube TV subscriber, unless something gets settled. But here's the thing. For Clemson to win this ball game, and that's kind of the way I want to go in this segment. I can give you 100 reasons that Clemson could lose this game tomorrow night. But for Clemson to win this game tomorrow night, it's going to have to be somewhat replicable of what they had this past weekend, which was a high-scoring game. Why? Because I have absolutely no confidence in Clemson's defense that they could stop a cold. There's poor tackling. There's bad angles. There's biting on any kind of play action where guys are running. So if Clemson wins this game tomorrow night, I don't expect it to be 46-45, but I expect it to be 35-31 kind of thing tomorrow. I think it will be a physical ball game, but for Clemson to win, it has to be a higher scoring game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game regardless because of what you just said. And I think Clemson's offense can have some success against Florida State. I believe Cade Klubnik can play well, and that they run a 3-3-5 scheme. Not a big fan of those kind of defenses.
I think Clemson, those junk defenses.
Yeah, I think Clemson will be able to run the football on them. Most everybody has this year that's played Florida State. I think they'll be able to do that. The key, though, you mentioned, is on defense. And what does Gus Malzahn love to do? He loves to run play action.
Yep.
And I tell you what, this is he is so excited to see this matchup.
He knows that the Deuce Robinson at 6'6", 225, Clemson might just have to bracket him all night long just due to the height disadvantage, the playmaking ability. So that means if he can run play action in another direction and get somebody to bite, somebody's going to be running wide open down the field.
And if it ain't Deuce Robinson, it might be Micaiah Danzy, who leads the country and plays over 50 yards.
Well,
he's got
here's
6
the thing.
already.
Florida State still leads the country in a few offensive categories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of that was thrown up earlier this year in a 77-point production the week after they beat Alabama. The one thing I come back to on this game is I keep hearing, as angry as Florida State fans are with the way this year's turned out after last year, beating Alabama in game number 1. This is what I heard this past week through the grapevine. They are willing to keep Norvell simply in the fact, look at the other jobs that are open right there, right now. So that brings me that little bit of a cloud over you when people are talking about this. If they lose to Clemson tomorrow night, trust me, the ratchet up of what you're going to hear on Norvell and then becomes the reality key. Teams and schools have to start looking, where am I in this pecking order of coaches being available? Because if I'm down here at number 6 or 7 on the list, you can count off Lane Kiffin's not going to be my head coach.
You're just getting Lane Kiffin everywhere.
I want Lane Kiffin to be coaching 14 different schools next year. My point being is, we have hit the NFL. You're getting ready to see coaches recycled. Why? Because there's a lack of choices out there.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting game because of a lot of reasons. Clemson struggled, and let's not be honest, Florida State has struggled outside of what they did to Alabama, which we see turned out to be a anomaly more than anything.
I think that was, people ask me all the time, what happened in that Alabama game? Well, you could have gone and gotten a little bit of tape on Castellanos from Boston College. He knows run first, throw second.
Right.
They had other pieces that they had brought in. There wasn't even I'm not even sure if Connor Stallions could have gotten you any video to get you prepared for what you were going to see from Florida State.
I don't know. Connor Stallions was pretty good at that.
To Florida State's credit, they punched Bama in the mouth, and Bama curled up, did not have an answer. Now, that was just for the second half. Right now, I'd like to thank Florida State as Bama. Whatever y'all did, y'all woke us up. We're not great, but we're winning football games, and that's part of it. Here's the thing with Florida State. I think they played their best game this past week in their 42-7 win over Wake Forest
since the Alabama game.
Since the Alabama game.
Agree.
So what kind of Florida State team are you seeing come in right now? Are they confident? Are they the train wreck that we have seen the last month at times? I don't know. That's college football 2025. Minus 2 teams, I don't think there's really anything you're going to get from week to week with any given football team.
Well, I'll tell you what Florida State wants to do. They want to run the football, and I think that's the first thing you got to take away. They do average 241 yards a game. However, 888 of these yards came against East Tennessee State and Kent State. So when you really break it down, since that Alabama game, really the last 4 games, they're averaging 146.3 yards per game. That's only 3.6 yards per carry.
Right.
So I like this matchup with Clemson. Here's why. Because even though Clemson's defense has looked bad in the secondary, and they've been bad, Clemson's been pretty good against the run. In 3 of the last 4 games, they're giving up just 89.8 yards per game and 3.4 yards per carry. 3 of those teams, they've held under 100 yards rushing. I like Clemson here because I think this is where they can put Tommy Castellano in a situation where he has to throw the ball, and when he does, he tends to turn the football over.
Number 3 on my list here. Make quarterback Thomas Castellanos beat you with his arms and not his legs.
Yep.
Because we saw him beat Alabama. Alabama's chasing him through the secondary the entire game after the entire second and third quarter. So I'm right there with you. And I heard on the radio yesterday coming in, do you play some kind of junk deep? No, you do what you do. You got defensive end. To me, Will Helt's probably been the guy that's played harder than anybody else on the defensive line this year. So you pinch him from both sides, and by God, Capehart, Peter Woods, any of the guys that are playing on the interior, keep your eyes up and make the tackle. Because if he gets by y'all, that's going to be 10 to 15 yards a pop.
Or more.
Yes.
Oh, but you got to have a spy on him.
Yes.
You got to spy.
So who is your spy on this linebacker?
It's got to be Sammy Brown. It's got to be.
And everybody's like,
you can't be Wade
you
Wood
take him out of it. You know, what is Jeremiah Alexander not as good
But
as everybody thought he was?
he's good.
No, I'm just
He's not as
asking.
fast.
Okay.
And
so it has to be Sammy
look
Brown.
Look what Sammy Brown did to Lenore Sellers last year. When Sammy Brown was in the game, Lenore Sellers had 11 yards rushing and did nothing the whole game, right? They take Sammy Brown out of the game, Lenore Sellers runs for like 120-something yards and scores 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. Why in the world did they ever have Sammy Brown on the sideline? That was part of the problem. So, like, this is a situation where Sammy Brown's got to be the guy. He's the fastest guy. He can cover sideline to sideline. That's why you do it. Alexander, he's a different kind of guy, linebacker. What I would do is play him at middle linebacker. If I'm Clemson, I go 4-3. That's my base. And I'm playing a 4-3 defense, and I got Alexander in there because he's going to play my middle. I'm going to use Sammy Brown as my decoy linebacker, sort of playing the more of a robber position and playing that decoy. I mean that guy spy, and then I'm using Wade Wood as an outside backer who can help you out.
We know this much. Up until a few weeks ago, Clemson was actually the number 1 team in the country as far as quickness to get to the quarterback, and I think that will be key again tomorrow as well. The one thing that you come back with me week after week when I ask you about Sammy Brown and his performance has been he's trying to do more, everybody's job instead of just doing. So then if that's the case and he is that spy, you have to sit there if you're Tom Allen or Ben Boulware and say, keep your eye on Castellanos and don't look elsewhere to do someone else's job. This is a game tomorrow night. Do the job in front of you and don't worry about everybody else. This is where by game number 8 in the year they say you are what you are. I am not sold Clemson's a 3-5 football team. Guess what? The record says they are.
I'm sold they are.
You are.
I'm very sold they are because it's just the same mistakes week after week, week after week happen. Yeah. Are they talented enough to beat Florida State? Absolutely. They are. Clemson's every bit as talented, if not more talented, than Florida State. There's no doubt in my mind on that. The problem is, can they put it together on both sides of the ball at the same time? We talked about that earlier, complementary football. They haven't done it yet this year, not one single game. Even in the games when they blew out Boston College and North Carolina, they didn't play complementary football.
Right. Played a half of football, absolutely. So, it's going to be interesting. But there are a lot of people here on campus. You'll see a lot of people. The 2 football players that are being named into the Hall of Fame, only one actually, neither will be in attendance tomorrow. Nuke Hopkins has a game on Sunday that he'll be playing in the NFL, and then Chester McLaughlin, the old defensive lineman from Whitefish, North Carolina.
1989 to 91.
Unfortunately, he's already passed away. His sister will be representing the McLaughlin family tomorrow, and of course, there's a lot going on campus this weekend.
Yeah.
I challenge Clemson fans right now. Oh, I don't want to go back. They're not that good. This is when a football team needs you. When I hear I don't want to go back, they're not any good, that tends to make me believe you're one of these people that moved to the upstate back during Clemson's run, and you yelled, "Go Tigers," in every sports bar and every college football playoff semifinal and championship game like you had attended school there since you were 4 years old. Those are the loudest fans in the world. Doesn't matter if it's Clemson, Alabama, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the "what have you done for me lately" crowd. this team needs some support. You only get one more chance this year, and then here we are going to be 4 or 5 months from now going, man, I can't wait till football season starts.
Amen, brother. Preach it. I said this the other night. Like, I don't understand it. Like, you wait all year long for these 7 home games, and then you don't come because they're not playing well. I mean, I don't care if they suck. It's college
7
football.
p.m. kickoff between
the
Clemson
game.
and Florida State tomorrow night.
Yeah, come to the
If I
game.
wasn't in the North Georgia Mountain, listen, preach on to me. Sturge, why aren't you there?
Sturge, why aren't you there?
I got things to deal with before going to the Medical University of South Carolina for a visit next week, okay? But I would be. And again, I come back to this is when the team needs you more than anybody else. If you want to show up and claim, Texas A&M claims that 12th man tradition and all. Clemson, be there, support it. You have an all-time losing record to Florida State University. They lead this series 21-16. As you mentioned, most of those losses came under one head coach. I keep coming back. You have an all-time losing history to a women's teachers college that started with an erector set stadium that Bobby Bowden said the great thing was every time they added another good opponent to come to Tallahassee, they could add another 5,000 to 10,000 seats before the next football season. And that's the way Doak Campbell was built.
Yeah, it looks like it literally underneath, outside it looks like, it's
There's
fancy.
a brick facade on the outside.
But inside
Covering.
it is really bleachers. They're bleachers. They're like high school bleachers. They really are.
No,
That's
I
what it
mean,
is.
I'm not knocking Florida State when I
am.
say that Bobby Bowden admitted he would go get a big name on the schedule because he knew he could put another 5,000 to 10,000 seats in for the next year, and it could be done.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can make that move here in Death Valley.
Well, yeah, to do it Death Valley, it takes a
take
little
over
more
a year,
work to do.
right.
Yeah, a little more work.
So
They want to put more seats in Death Valley on the east side. They're talking about doing different things on the school
right
board
now,
side.
looking at the last couple of replays, I'm not worried about extra seats. Fill up what you got and move on from there.
Well,
And that starts with winning this game tomorrow at 7 p.m.
And a lot of that is also on the visiting team,
Right.
too. If you played in the SEC,
You're
those
getting-
seats are sold.
Dude, you're getting
You get that game sold. This is where playing the SEC.
I got cussed
and
at.
Florida State, I hope they bring a big crowd tomorrow, but they haven't really the last couple of times brought big crowds.
Listen,
either.
I got mouthed at by a couple of my Carolina buddies a couple weeks ago. They were like, Sturge, there was 20,000 plus Alabama fans in Williams-Brice Stadium.
Yep.
And I said, that's y'all's fault for selling the tickets.
Because I tell you what, when LSU came to Clemson, there was only like 5,000 LSU fans in the stadium.
But there were 20,000
They were outside.
There
were 20,000 in the parking lot.
You're
But
100%
Clemson fans
correct.
did not let them in the stadium, and that's what you want.
Right.
But you also want your team
be good.
to sell those 5,000 a lot. I'm talking about the visiting team.
Yeah.
Sell those 5,000 a lot and bring. It's only 5,000. You can't bring 5,000 fans from Tallahassee. 5,000 fans from Duke. Come on. That's part of what makes it look the way it did last week.
ACC football,
And
brother.
Clemson fans, as you mentioned, in years past, those bandwagon Clemson fans were buying those seats when
Now
Duke
they're
would
open.
come. Now they're open because they don't want to come, and the Duke fans don't come, and the Wake Forest fans don't come, and the
And
NC
I'm
State
laughing
fans
at.
don't come.
I hope some of those people that do that lose money this year. What comes around goes around. Clemson football will be back at some point. This year might not be the year.
Right.
I
Agreed.
placed the impetus though at 3-5. In the awfulness that you've seen so far this year, if you can't make a bowl game at 6-6, this will go down as my most disappointing year that I can remember since I think Clemson went 11-1, came back 6-5 the next year with Homer Jordan as quarterback. What happened the following year? They went on a magical run to the national championship. I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but I never saw 6-5 coming in 1980 or
1980.
yeah, 1980, and I daggum sure didn't see.
They
3-5
lost to Duke
after
that
8
year,
games.
too.
Yeah, that's the first
At
day
home.
at home,
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, you guys will be all over it tomorrow there at the stadium. You and Jason Priester and, of course, Robert McCray, everybody involved with the Clemson Insider. They can just simply go Clemson at theclemsoninsider.com. Get all the free coverage of Clemson athletics they want.
Well, yeah, we'll have everything pregame, leading up to the game, pregame stuff. We'll have stuff there. We'll see who's going to be starting on the offensive line with Colin Sadler. Does that mean I think the freshman still starts.
Jacobs?
Jacobs.
Jacobs
Yeah, I think
the
you
best
put Jacobs at
offensive
left guard
lineman I've
still.
seen at Clemson
So-
in probably 7 years.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there, but we'll keep you up to date that and everything else going on as we get you up, and then, of course, everything after the game into the wee hours of the morning.
And, of course, basketball going on as well. A whole lot going on. Clemson women's basketball.
Got Clemson basketball tonight. We had women's basketball last night. Clemson men's basketball tonight. We got Jason. He's over there covering the game as me and you were talking.
So, again, we'll from here, we got one more show at Lakeside Lodge, but we'll keep you up to date all through the athletic year. But, again, Will, thank you for your time. Of course, we couldn't do it without Cliff Witherspoon over here from Red Arrow Studios down the road in Seneca, South Carolina. He is so much cooler than we are. Clemson now holds a 16-point lead over Gardner-Webb in basketball. I got to be honest with you. I interviewed Brad a couple of weeks ago, and for the first time, he's giving you that coach's talk, but be honest with you, he didn't really know what he had until they got out on the court. Boy, they got off to a good start the other night, and we'll see how that comes. But there's some tough games coming up in December for this Clemson basketball team.
Yeah, they got Georgetown, West Virginia, and then they go to Alabama, which I'll be there for that game. So,
are you really?
Yeah. My former student worker, she covers Alabama basketball, men's basketball, and so she asked me to come. So we could be on courtside together like old days.
I have to make a road trip out of that because,
Yeah.
The biggest thing, this will be one of the last 2 years of Alabama's arena before they do what Auburn did, which is downsize and make those tickets that much more valuable. Again, tomorrow night, you got Florida State 4-4 at Clemson 3-5. Yes, we never thought this would be a kickoff on the ACC network, but you can see it at 7 p.m. Mike Hogwood, if you could send us some blessings from up above, RIP, it'll be a great day for ACC football.
Yeah, you got ACC football action.
Yep. So, all right. Well, listen, again, thanks to everybody here at Lakeside Lodge. Check them out. The food is absolutely next level in Traditions on the Lake. They're open 7 days a week. The most unique food menu that you will see here in the Clemson area. Find out everything about this awesome place. LakesideLodgeClemson.com. We'll see you in 2 weeks.